All right, my friend, 2024 is the year you are finally going to write your novel and you're going to use Obsidian to do it. Let me show you how I'm doing it and how you can copy the same techniques. So since we last spoke, I've done a bunch of improvements to my workflow. The biggest improvement is how I'm incorporating Obsidian with analog style writing systems. So it's really fun. Let me show you how I do it. So I bought this little puppy here. This is a typewriter from 1959. This is an Olympia SG1 built in West Germany, and for the last 60 years has actually been held at a convent of nuns in immaculate condition until I picked it up at a thrift shop for 125 bucks. So let's go. This is what I'm using to write a lot of my prose and a lot of my initial ideas before I refine them in Obsidian. But you might think, how do I take notes on a typewriter and then bring it into Obsidian? Let me show you how you can do that. So I write notes on this typewriter and then I put them into my initial second brain, which is this fancy setup here. This is actually the wall that's next to me in this office. So the middle section of papers is prose. The top row is outlines, and the bottom row is kind of journal, more free, what do you call that? Stream of consciousness journaling. But from here, the pieces that I want to incorporate into Obsidian, what I actually do is plug them into a Apple Notes. Apple Notes allows you to copy text in a video, picture, or image and to select the text. So you see here in the example they have on Apple's website, this is a cat adoption flyer. You take a picture of it in Apple Notes and you can literally drag your your selection key across the text here and click import. So what I do is I literally do the same thing with my papers here. So I will take a picture in Apple Notes of the paper, drag over the entire text, import it directly into Obsidian, and then voila, it's in your vault. Now, the text importation is like 95% there. If you make typos on your typewriter, that's going to impact it a little bit. Or if the technology isn't totally up to snuff, a couple of the words might be off. But at the end of the day, I find it's a good balance between not sitting at my computer for hours on end, but still being able to tie everything together in Obsidian. So how do I tie everything together in Obsidian? Well, follow me along for the rest of the ride, my friends. So from here, we get into outlining. So before I switched everything into Obsidian, I was doing my novel outlining like this in Excel, which actually works quite well. I take inspiration from that famous chart image that I'll link below of J.K. Rowling's plot structure for one of the Harry Potter books. She literally had everything in a grid format, the chapters on the up to down, and then across all the different plot lines in the book and how each plot line developed in each chapter. So I did something similar in Excel. The difficulty was I'm writing my novel in Obsidian, but my outline was in Excel, so there was no link between the two, which I'm willing to live with in some cases. Case in point, all this typewriter stuff, but there's a benefit there. Here, I didn't see the benefit if I could get something similar in Obsidian, and as of the latest update, we now have much better tables in Obsidian, which means I've migrated my outlining process completely into the software. Now, the biggest changes that just make it's really quality of life stuff here. So when I'm in my outline in Obsidian, what I can do is, there, it loaded up. I can drag this column like this, like you wouldn't think, mind blown, right? So even here, say, this, actually, I want this to be my third scene instead of my second scene. Voila, drag it up and down, and there you go. That's really all it took for me to move over. Another thing here is just right click here, and then this long drop down. Once you get to columns, you could put add a column before, so you can add a column there. Those two things meant that I could migrate over. Some fidelity you lose is having colored cells. You have colored cells in Excel. You can't do that in Obsidian. I'm not tied to that. What I've instead done is went for colored highlights. So let's say every setting is set at this setting, Garfella Drive, I want to be pink. I can basically highlight those settings, Control P command palette, go to highlight, and go to highlighter pink. So highlighter is a community plugin, highlighter, that's how you spell it, and boom, that text is pink. When you click away, it's pink. I don't know. I thought that's kind of nifty and a good way to kind of build in some colored cells into your Obsidian tables. Very manual, but hey, you gotta rock with what you got, right? So that leads me into the pièce de résistance of how I'm writing this novel in Obsidian. So this is my dashboard. Everything that's up here, I just brought in for this video. I don't look at it every day. What I really look at is this here. And you can click this auto align when all those other boxes aren't there to zoom to this quickly. But this is my hub for my novel. So I use these 4 files to write everything. Up here is my outline file. This is kind of step 1, if you will, where I'm outlining. You can see that the first chapters here have links to the chapter. That's because I'm actually writing those chapters or have written them. And the plot line is more fleshed out. But the rest of the novel is kind of still free-form text. Some of the settings aren't there. The timelines get a little gray. Some of these are very just like ideas, like 2 or 3 word ideas for how the novel is going to go. And then I have kind of an unused section here where I've moved kind of scenes that I don't really need in the novel. This is where I do my outlining. So from my outlining, I then go over into this section over here, which is my 1-page summary. This is kind of my mid-level of my outlining process. So the actual table outline is very high level about the novel, but then once I get into the mid-level, every scene has like 10 to 20 plot points in it. So how do I outline that? I don't want to outline that in the body of each chapter. That's where I'm doing the prose. I don't want to put that into this outline table because it defeats the purpose of having a high-level outline. So I decided I kind of need a mid-level outline. So over here, mid-level outline is very simply just drop downs that link to the actual note. So this is the actual prose note. But when you go back here, underneath it, you have the plot points. And you can have one side with all your plot points. You know, you can just move this file over to one side of your Obsidian screen and have your prose on the other side and work side by side. And the beautiful thing is everything links. Now, one thing about linking that I found a bit deficient is, so if I kind of link here to the scenes and link here to the scenes, then there's no way to go seamlessly from my outline to my high level outline to my mid level outline. Let me zoom out so you know what I'm talking about here. There's no seamless way for me to go from here to there, like from my high level outline to my mid level outline. So what I did instead is I did custom links with custom text. It's kind of a faff, but look here. So I'm instead linking to the block reference of this chapter in the summary versus linking directly to the note. So what happens here is, let me open this in a new tab. So just to show you the beauty of what I'm doing here. Flamingo out, line, there it is. So here, I click that, boom, takes me to the mid-level outline because it's linking to this block. It's not linking to the actual note. So then I can literally go level 1 to level 2 to level 3. Boom, mid-level outline, I can see what I want to see here. And then when I'm done, boom, into the prose. And then if I want to go back to get back out to the top level. I think that's pretty nifty. Moving right along here, the other 2 sections of my novel hub here. One here, this is my data view query that is kind of a table of all of my scenes. So this is all my written prose. We'll jump into this in just a second, what's feeding this. And over here, I have a general catch-all high-level, novel-level notes file. So my notes file, I have a parking lot. These are just things that pop into my mind. They need to be resolved. They go in here as checkboxes. And once I'm done, I don't check the checkbox. I delete the line because it doesn't matter anymore. I don't need all this information lying around. But showing it as a checkbox, checkbox, just cues me to know that I need to get back to this. Below here, some unused sections, but that I'm going to get to as I get further in the process. A used phrases section. That's where if there's slang words, kind of phrases that I want to come back, like themes, motifs, I'm going to plug them in here so I can keep track of them and then note how many times they're used, maybe even link to their usages in the novel. Really cool in the long run. And then loose ends, these are plot holes. I'm still kind of in the outlining stage, but I've written 2 chapters, so in the middle there. But anything that doesn't make any logical sense, that is a plot hole, I'm going to plug in here, maybe even do a block reference to where the plot hole lives in the body, and then come back here and fix it up. So in short, this is where I work. And the beauty here is I can kind of do things at the same time. Here, you know what? Let me just open up the actual canvas that I'm using here, Novel Hub Canvas, because this is easy enough to then just kind of recenter this. If I zoom out, recenter. Anyway, so if I'm here in my outline and I think of something for the parking lot, I can just drop it over here. If I want to play between the 2 outline levels, I can work between them. I've got everything zoomed a bit out. It works for me because I can see it all at once, but there's nothing stopping you from zooming into your outline in your canvas, working on it, and then, moving over to here, moving over there, moving over there. And then also, I mean, the beauty is, don't forget, guys, that this is not how it always needs to live in your canvas. I have everything at a page size that works for me, but you see this summary here is very short. So if I wanted to, I could make this summary, half as big, and I can make my parking lot a lot bigger. And that works for me, right? Oh, that might work for you, forgive me. And then you can make this giant and have all the rest of 3 of these be tiny. Whatever works for you. Anyway, back to the flow of the video here. So we've spoken about everything there. Now let's jump into an actual note, an actual scene from the novel, and see how that works. I've got that opened here, very nice and handy. So a couple points here. So in the previous iteration of this, when you saw my last data view query for all of my scenes, you would have noticed that this was all driven by YAML front matter. Since we last spoke, I have switched to properties. Let me pull up the actual data view query in a big one so you guys can see it high res. So here's the data view query. I've got my chapters. I'll show you the data view query in a second so you can see the new one here if you have any questions. Boom. So there are the chapters. Here are all the characters I've tagged in that chapter, the setting, which plot line. I have to update these plot lines because I've been redoing the names of these plot lines. The date the chapter takes place, and the words. So the words is a manual property I update every time I go in and write a chapter. So here's a chapter, chapter 1. So if I go into properties, I have my file classes. Flamingo is the name of the novel, provisional title, and scene. This is a scene file class, and that's driven by metadata menus, so that in here, I'm only going to get options in each of these fields that are tied to this project. When I go into the character setting and I look up, auto-filling characters, I'm not going to see characters from a different novel I'm writing or characters from a book I've read. I'm only going to see characters that are mapped to this file class. My novel, Flamingo, plus the scene file class. I've got my setting in here, my plot line, and then, this is just simply write in here, and that just helps me see at a glance roughly how many words I'm at. I round up to the nearest 500 here in my outline. As well, one thing I've done is start using footnotes in the body of my chapters. So when I have something here, so Mummy yelled if Happy would drop the box again. There's a little footnote here, think hard on the best first sentence. So this is a note to me, like next time I come back to read this, is that really the sentence I want to start my novel with? Probably not, but this is just a reminder and I can jump into it. And this pop out, I think it's Better Footnotes, is the plugin that allows you to just hover over in reading view and see what your footnotes say. Obviously at the bottom, you got all of them here, so you can also click here and jump to where you want to do the work. And one other thing I did at the bottom is I put chapter 2, kind of a link, and I can just jump into chapter 2 straight from there. A lot less fleshed out, but we're getting there, baby. And finally, I'm using the Writing Goals plugin to have a overall novel level word goal here based on a single folder. I'm keeping all these files in a single folder, and then a daily word goal. Mine is 100 right now. It's very minimal because I'm doing a lot of outlining versus prose writing, so didn't want to set that too high while I'm in the outlining stage. And that's an update on how I'm writing my novel in Obsidian. I hope you found this helpful. I'm answering any and all questions for you to kick off your new year novel writing journey Obsidian. Well, shoot them down below. Leave a like. I love you all. Till next time. Peace.